With every Zombies title, there's the launch map, the first impression, the map that kicks off the Zombies season. Some games launch with one singular map. For example, World at War launched with just Nocturne and Toten. Some games launch with one map, but have a second bonus map that can be purchased on the side. For example, in BO2, you were given Transit on disc, but could purchase Nuketown as a bonus. Likewise, in BO3, you received Shadows of Evil by default, but could also get the Giant. And in BO4, we received 9 Voyage of Despair and Blood of the Dead, but could also get classified with the Black Ops Pass. The launch map you don't have to purchase will always be the more popular one and the more played one, simply because not everybody can afford the extra map. So generally, the launch maps that you had to purchase, aka Nuketown, the Giant, and Classified, were played quite a bit, don't get me wrong, but weren't played nearly as much as their free counterparts. BO1, however, was different. You received 2 maps at launch, neither of which you had to purchase, and even a third experience in Dead Ops Arcade. There was Keynote or Toten, which was available in your menu from day 1, and there was also 5, which you had to achieve by completing the campaign, or by typing in the cheat code in the computer in the menu, but we're gonna forget about that. Unlike all the other Zombies games, there was some genuine competition for the more favorable launch map in Black Ops 1 between 5 and Keynote or Toten, since neither of which were hindered with a price tag. And for various reasons, 5 lost the popularity contest against Keynote. People still played it, people still enjoyed it, but ultimately it would become the other launch map. A map that shined, but was outshined and became an afterthought. I'm Tim, and today we're gonna be analyzing 5, what it did right, what it did wrong, and why it would be ultimately forgotten. Every Sunday night, I analyze a Treyarch Zombies map, so definitely hit that subscribe button if you want to keep up with that. I got a playlist of all the previous ones I've done in case you missed them. But without further ado, let's discuss. The most obvious reason why people played Keynote or Toten more is because it was slightly more accessible. It was in your menu from the start. And although you didn't have to purchase 5, you did have to complete the campaign, and not all of the players do that. And not all of the players were bothered to look up the cheat code and plug it in. So Keynote does have a slight edge over 5. But that slight inconvenience of having to unlock 5 can't be the singular reason why people played Keynote more. Because if people hated Keynote, they would have stopped playing it and they would have picked up 5 instead. Although I enjoy the map quite a bit, 5 does have many flaws, especially in its design. You spawn in a tight and compressed conference room with very little space to work with and very little redeeming qualities. You do have quick revive and the electric traps, but not much else. On higher rounds, this area of the map is practically uninhabitable due to how easily you can get overrun. You then hop in the elevator and make your way down to the second of 3 floors, the War Room, which granted has much more space and is a much more viable training area, but even in contrast to other training areas on other maps, is still lackluster. In fact, the top half of the War Room with the narrow corridors is a giant no-no unless you actually want to die. But on the bottom half, you definitely have enough space to work with, albeit still fairly difficult. It's certainly the most popular training area on the map because it's the safest. Then you hop in another elevator and make your way down to the 3rd and final floor. This area of the map is once again very tight, very compressed, very difficult to survive in. One area down here I did find plausible to train in was the Porcine Labs, but as you can see by the gameplay, it isn't seamless. There are many difficulties with it. The entirety of the map is close-quartered and nearly impossible for the average player to train in. And hey, I'm all for challenge. If you want to give me a small area to work with, I'll do it, but you gotta give me something more than the Winters Howl. The Winters Howl is one of the worst wonder weapons ever made. It's wildly inconsistent, has very little ammo, and does practically nothing past round 30. If you replace the Winters Howl with a save me wonder weapon like the Thunder Gun, it would be an entirely different story, but because you have such little space to work with and such an unreliable wonder weapon, that's a recipe for disaster. This is why 5 is one of the most challenging maps of all time, and again, you do have those electric traps up and spawn, but they're placed in very inconvenient locations. It's not like you can turn it on, walk away, and let the zombies pour through. You now have a barrier next to you, and you're essentially trapped. So although in theory the electric trap has infinite damage and makes a high round plausible, it's in practicality not very easy to do. In fact, the electric trap's location is one of the many examples as to why the design is so poor. You also had the highly inconsistent teleporters that shot you around the map without any general direction. The only consistency with any of them is that the middle one down in the labs will teleport you to one of the top 2 floors. It'll never keep you down on the 3rd floor. Many other maps, including Kino, have a plethora of training areas, tons of space to work with, and have a reliable wonder weapon, and have a trap that isn't borderline impossible to use. Granted, some people enjoy the challenge that 5 presents, including myself to a certain extent. But when you have so many other alternatives for maps that have such better strategies that aren't as tedious and annoying, it's hard to choose 5 over those maps, and that's one of the reasons why it was forgotten. I don't want to sound like a hater because I genuinely enjoy 5, but the design really could have used some improvement. And I'm not saying it's the worst map design ever because there are in fact some worse ones, but you can't expect people to side with 5 and all of the inconveniences challenges that tag along with it over maps like Kino that are far easier, especially when the majority of the community is casual as fuck back in 2010. I think the other reason why people forgot about 5 is because there wasn't much to remember. It didn't do one thing spectacularly, it did a bunch of things decently and a few things poorly. The concept of the map is certainly unique, zombies in the Pentagon. The story that tagged along with the map was also interesting. It followed the meeting between JFK and Fidel Castro upon the Cuban Missile Crisis. Secretary of Defense Robert McNamara, along with Richard Nixon, also attended the meeting. The research with Element 115 got out of hand and zombies took over the Pentagon. The 4 crew members survived the outbreak and history continued on as it normally would have. And all of that is great, certainly better than a lot of other maps, but in terms of actual gameplay, there wasn't much to remember at all. There wasn't anything revolutionary like there were in previous maps, like Derice and Kino der Toten. You turn on the power, get your perks, get the Winters Howl, and Pack-a-Punch, and then you would struggle from then on. Activating Pack-a-Punch with the 5 defcons was a cool concept, but it wasn't revolutionary. Teleportation had a new twist on it and was cool, but was largely ineffective. The Winters Howl can be fun to use, but still sucks, and still didn't change the game of zombies as we know it. The only feature that seemed to turn heads, the only feature that seemed to make a difference, was the Pentagon Thief. Similarly to the Hellhounds, every 5 rounds or so, a boss would come in, and this one would steal your loadout. The Pentagon Thief would grab your gun, run away, and you would have to try to chase him down and kill him before the timer ran out. If you managed to do so, you received a max ammo and a fire sale, and if you managed to do so without even getting touched by him, you got a bonfire sale, allowing you to pack-a-punch your gun for only 1,000 points. The Pentagon Thief, for better or worse, was a memorable feature. I, for one, have fond memories of my friends and I getting chased around by him, screaming at the top of our lungs trying not to get our guns taken away. He brewed chaos. He was one of the few things that made 5 unique. The majority of players seem to despise him, and I totally get where you're coming from there. He is a giant douchebag sometimes, especially when he takes away an important weapon, but for the most part, at least from my experience, he makes the map fun, and he's an integral feature. Aside from the Pentagon Thief, there wasn't anything outstanding about the map. The elevators were also new, but they weren't new in concept, just in aesthetic. 5 did innovate, but it made minor innovations, not major ones. You know, it made some alterations from previous maps, but didn't contribute a whole lot to the progression of zombies. There are many other zombies maps that fall victim to not contributing much, but oftentimes those maps are memorable in some capacity, whether it's laughably bad or it's a genuinely great zombies map. I think 5's generally poor map design disables it from being a great map, but I also think it's too good to be considered a terrible map. And that leaves you with a map that's totally average with very few memorable features. And I understand the map design had to be compromised because it was ported from the campaign and it's a real place. They couldn't just start from scratch like many of the fictional zombies maps out there. That's why it doesn't feel totally proportional or totally consistent. But even so, I just don't feel as though it was enough for the average zombies player. Again, there are hardcore players out there that love 5 and love the challenge it presents. And, you know, again, to a certain degree, I do too. But 5's absurd difficulty is the product of poor map design rather than one specific feature. And that's why many players preferred Kino, preferred Ascension, preferred Derice, whatever it was. The designs were more proportional and the wonder weapons weren't borderline useless. Those maps would possess the casual players, which made up the majority of the community. 5, for a very long time, was totally forgotten about until the resurgence of it with its remaster, Classified. And I think Classified fixed a lot of the problems that 5 suffered from, but is too different for me to juxtapose the two, hence why I'm going to make a different analysis video for that map. In conclusion, 5 is a forgotten map, and it's a forgotten map because it doesn't have any outstanding features. There weren't many remarkable elements that made you turn your head and go, wow, that did something special there. Which isn't the end of the world. It wouldn't have pushed players away, but because it was absurdly difficult, mainly through its poor map design, people stopped playing it. Not to mention, 5 isn't in the bulk of the zombie storyline. It's sort of skewed off to the side. Players would turn to less irritating maps like Kino der Toten, and that's why Kino won the popularity contest for the best launch map in BO1. 5 would be outshined and forgotten, and even underrated to a certain extent. 5 is definitely one of those maps that people don't give enough credit, but that's because people don't ever think about it. I know in this video it sounded like I tore it to shreds, but I honestly do like this map quite a bit. And I don't even consider this analysis a negative one. I just think while examining the map objectively, you can see the many holes it possesses, and you can see that 5 just didn't have a major impact on the story or zombies in general. It does, however, hold a very special place in my heart. I have tons of memories of my friends and I getting chased by the Pentagon Thief, abandoning each other in the elevators. Just a great map with a great atmosphere, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you did, make sure to leave a like and tell me what you think of 5 in the comments section. Also, bros, you might want to hit the subscribe button and the bell notification so you don't miss the next episode. You're gonna love it. it, I promise you. I think that's the end of the video here. Yeah, hope you have a great day. Follow me on Twitter. All those links are in the description. On my socials. Goodbye.